Welcome to my chow line. I'm Tracy Lingle. Join me as we serve up dishes that are sure to please. We'll also hear a story about my cousin, Brent Beecham, and his service in the U.S. Air Force. We're going to be making Brunswick stew from a family recipe. We have beef, chicken, and venison. We're going to be using other vegetables, but mainly what we're going to be using for our spices. For the chicken, we're going to be using our Willie Pete Grill Your Ass Off seasoning. We're going to be using the Cannibal all-purpose seasoning, and we'll be using the barbecue sauce when we make this Brunswick stew. We're going to grill the corn to add to the stew. We're going to smoke the meat off to put in the stew, and we'll shred the chicken and shred the beef, and we'll have ground venison to go in. Brunswick stew is kind of controversial in some areas, but this is how we make Georgia Brunswick stew in our family. Now, your family might be different, but this is how we do it in our family, with my own twist of adding more smoke flavor to it instead of just doing it in a pot on the stove or in a slow cooker. So this is my version of Brunswick stew, Georgia style. So let's get to it. All right, when seasoning the chicken, you're gonna wanna make sure you put seasonings inside the meat, around it, on these thighs. And I'm using the Willie Pete Grill Your Ass Off seasonings. Go to grillyourassoff.com/mychowline to get 10% off. But we're going to season them all the way around to get the skin and everything. And then when we put them on the grill, we're going to wrap them up nice and tight, like that. We set them on the smoker. That way they cook evenly all the way through. Don't get any cold spots or hot spots. And then we'll be able to shred these later. We're going to be using the Cannibal all-purpose spice. grillyourassoff.com/mychowline, or use mychowline at checkout for 10% off. Some of these are boneless short ribs, and then we'll have some bone-in short ribs. We're going to smoke them until they get a good char on the outside, and then we'll put them in the stew. And get that good smoke flavor on them. Make sure to season really well. All sides. Get some of the seasoning off the bottom of the pan. Alright, so now that we've got these seasoned up really good, it's time to get them on the smoker and let them get some char and some smoke on them. We're going to take these almost to fully cooked all the way through to really tender, so that way they'll shred off pretty easy off the bone. And these we're going to get just till we get good crust on them, and then we'll put them back in a tray like this with a little bit of butter, and we'll continue cooking them down a little bit, and then we'll add it all to the stew. So that's how we're going to roll with this. So we're going to get this on, and then we'll start prepping our vegetables. Alright, so we got our chicken and our beef on. They've been on for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and season up this ground and get it prepped for the smoker as well. When we put this in the stew, a lot of that seasoning is going to get mellowed out by all the other ingredients, so we want to make sure that our meat is well seasoned so that flavor comes through. Alright, we'll set this on the smoker, and then we're going to finish getting our vegetables set up. Alright, so I've got them all cut up for this and fit one of these small pans. I'm going to take some all-purpose seasoning. I've already got some butter sliced in there. We'll take some of this all-purpose seasoning. Just a light dusting. And then that's going to go on my grill. As that melts down, we're going to toss it and let the bottom of it get charred a little bit, and we'll keep going around and let it get that butter and get the seasonings all in it. Alright, so we're going to dice up some onions. I've got 5 sweet Vidalia onions here. You can use any kind of onion you want, but Georgia Vidalia onions, it's a Georgia product right there. All right, so get these chopped up and get them set aside. All right, so I got some color on these short ribs. Go ahead, and I'm putting them in the this pan with some butter, brown sugar, and some Worcestershire sauce. We're going to get these covered up with some foil and put them back on the smoker and let them keep cooking down till they're nice and tender. Brunswick stew. We have our smoked venison. cooked up already. It's cooled off a little bit. Go ahead and add it to our pan. Tomato sauce. Two to 3 cups broth, bone broth, chicken broth. This happens to be beef broth. All right, we've got our grilled corn here, or charred corn, with butter and the sauce on it. So we're gonna go ahead and slice it off. And we'll get this into our stew. We'll let that start to simmer. We'll check on it in a minute. We'll start adding some of the fresh tomatoes, and then we'll add the barbecue sauce, and we'll add the meat. All right, you can see we have our corn mixed in here. We have our ground venison. We have our tomatoes and tomato sauce. I've stirred that up a little bit. Now we're going to add a healthy dose of Worcestershire, whatever. And we'll add the rest of this bottle of Grill Your Ass Off Originals barbecue sauce. Take a little bit of the broth and put it in the jar. All right, stir that up some more. And we'll let that simmer on low heat while the rest of our meat finishes up, and then we'll add that meat to it, and then we'll keep going. All right, so I've pulled these off. They've been sitting in this for a little bit. We'll go ahead and get the bones out. They're not quite super tender yet, but they're tender enough that I can get the bones out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put these in the pot along with some onions, and let the stew start cooking down, because we wanted this close to tender, but not like falling apart tender. We're going to let it finish and mellow with the rest of the stew. So we're going to put this in the stew. All right, so our chicken is done. It's still super hot, but go ahead and peel it off the bone. I got the insulated gloves on, so I'm good here. But man, that just looks like it's coming apart really good. Oh yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Oh look, there's a little piece that won't come off. Oh my goodness. Come on. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Oh. Woo. Tear that skin up, because we want that skin to be in there, because it's gonna have some good fat and flavor to the stew. Man. I hate almost putting this in the stew. I just want to eat it like it is. This would be good to do just as is. That Willie Pete, man, is really good. Good seasonings, good flavor. Come on. That's just, man, that's just really good and really hot. Oh, I'm gonna have to eat some of this skin. Oh man, oh that's good. Oops, it just fell apart. Don't know what happened. Oh no, just, whoo, hot. But you can see the smoke on that chicken. That skin. Oh. Oh my goodness. I could just eat the skin. Good grief. All right. Now we're going to add this to the stew. And then we're going to let it simmer. We got onions in there. We got tomatoes, corn. We got beef. We got ground venison, barbecue sauce. It's going to be good. Okay, one more piece. Chef can do that. All right, so we've got our stew cooking here. Going down. We're going to let it ride for an hour or two or three and let it break down the beef the rest of the way. Let it break down these tomatoes. We'll stir it occasionally, but we're going to let it simmer and let it cook. And that's our Brunswick stew. Just got to let it go for a long time. All right, we've come to the part of the show where I tell you a story. And I'm sharing with you my cousin Brent's story. I'm going to enjoy some Horse Soldier bourbon, a little snort here. Done a lot, not a lot. I got other things to do today, so I can't drink a lot of it. But I want to enjoy the cigar and some Horse Soldier with you. Warfighter tobacco cigar, Horse Soldier bourbon, great combination. Cheers. Brent, it's for you. Ooh, that's good. All right. Brent Beecham. Brent went to the U.S. Air Force Academy from 1982 to 1986, and this story is from that time. While at the Academy, after surviving the freshman Dooley year, Hell Week, and recognition, we were then shipped up to the mountains for survival training. We were equipped with a lightweight fatigue jacket, lightweight sleeping bag, 1 K-rat, and a piece of parachute for a lean-to shelter. It was June, so it seemed like that might have been enough. But we were at 10,000 feet elevation. That first night, I couldn't sleep. I was freezing cold. I was awakened by our instructor screaming about one of my team members that was unresponsive. I jumped out of my sleeping bag and found 6 inches of snow from the overnight storm, which explained why he was so cold that night, or why I was so cold that night. We rushed to his shelter and found him gray, cold, and unconscious. We remembered our training for hypothermia and began to strip his clothes to get skin-to-skin warming. About halfway through taking his clothes off, he began to laugh. It was just an exercise. Oh, that's a cruel joke to play. This was day 1. After 3 days with nothing more than water and eating a small bites of the K-rat bar, we were starving. That's when the next phase of our training began, how to trap, kill, and prepare animals. Given the time constraints to catch an animal, they gave us a little black bunny. Aw. The instructor said we should hold him upside down and pet him so that he would relax and his ears droop forward, after which we would deliver a karate chop blow to the neck to kill him. There were 4 of us with this one bunny. One guy held him and another was given the task of delivering the killing blow. After the bunny's ears flop forward, the second guy winds up and gives him the best Bruce Lee chop. Unfortunately, the guy holding the bunny's legs failed to sufficiently grip the legs of the bunny, and the bunny goes somersaulting into the fire we prepared to smoke the rabbit. Well, that's horrible. And he acknowledges that this was messed up. But they have to learn how to do this, and failure is one way to learn. It was flopping around and screeching, so the first guy pulls him out of the fire, and the two guys try it one more time with the same result. The bunny goes end over end. This poor bunny. Good Lord. End over end and back into the fire. That's when I jump into action. I grab the twitching bunny and deliver the final death blow. I forgot to mention one of my partners was a girl, and who for the 30 minutes of training had been petting the cute bunny before we snatched it out of her hands to kill it. Looking back after this horrific murder scene, I saw she was in a bit of shock with a horrified look on her face. I can imagine. It's, you know, yeah, deer hunting and stuff. It's difficult enough to deal with that. You know, you want to respect the animal. All of us were starving, and now that the bunny was dead, our hunger took over. Some of the rabbit went into a pot, while others were hung for jerky. All three of us ate various parts, including the brain and heart, as well as the eyeballs on a dare. That is, animal didn't go to waste. Never had I had food that tasted so good, and the jerky would provide us energy for the next 3 days as we trekked through the mountains, evading capture. So I'm going to tell you a little bit after this event. After Brent graduated the academy and went on to the pilot training and then fighter training to fly the F-15. He was then assigned to the 1st Fighter Wing, 71st Fighter Squadron. He deployed to Saudi Arabia on the August 7th, 1990, which was the beginning of Operation Desert Storm. And I will have some future stories from him from during his time in Desert Storm. Because I told my brother's story on here, and that, if you haven't seen that video, my brother was in the 82nd Airborne in Desert Storm. But my cousin has a story about meeting my brother in country, which my brother doesn't remember, which is odd, considering the 82nd Airborne was pulling security for the airfield where my cousin was stationed. And so my cousin went to find my brother and bring him over and, let him have a hot cooked meal from the, because he's Air Force, so they're going to have hot food, and they're going to be staying in nice billeting. They're not going to be sleeping in a tent or on a cot. And yeah, but my brother doesn't remember it. That's funny. Probably doesn't want to acknowledge that he got a hot shower and a warm meal from the Air Force when all his buddies were sitting in a hangar sleeping on cots, eating MREs. Well, that's a gruesome story about, but that's survival training too. That's the words are hard, and the reality of survival training is like, it's not pretty, but learning that kind of stuff is important for them. And seeing the failure is actually important too, knowing that because if they ever had to do it for real, they'd know they got to do better. But I'm sure it was very traumatizing, especially for the lady that had been petting the bunny. But it was probably traumatizing a little bit on a subconscious level, just seeing an animal suffer like that. It's not fun. But anyway, well, thank you for listening for this story. I'll have more stories from him and my brother, and from other veterans as well. This will be the next to last story before I'm in Normandy. So this story comes out 4 days before I leave for Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. So I will be posting videos from there, on my YouTube channel. I will also be probably doing some cooking as well, but I'll be trying to do some interviews and stories. And I may or may not be able to do some cooking over there, depending on the arrangements. And there's at least one night I'll be able to cook, but not sure about the rest of them. But I'm going to at least try to get some stories and interviews in as well. So, thank you guys for watching. If you've stayed along this far, cheers. Like, share, subscribe. Also, check out the grillyourassoff.com/mychowline. Thank you. Thank you, Brent, for your service. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoy this cook. I'm going to stir the Brunswick stew, and we'll see how this turns out in a few hours. All right, so we got our Brunswick stew. We got chicken, beef, and venison in here. Man, it smells amazing. If you want to try these seasonings out, go to grillyourassoff.com/mychowline. Save 10%. Or use mychowline at checkout to save 10% off. So now we're going to try this Brunswick stew out. Man, this thing looks good. Oh, it's really hot too. See if I can get some tomatoes, some meat. Oh my goodness. Oh wow. All the meat just kind of falls apart. You got sweetness from the barbecue sauce in there. You got a little heat from the Willie Pete, because Willie Pete's got a little bit of spice to it in the chicken. And then you just got butter in there, because the butter I used to soak the butter brown sugar for the meat, the beef. Oh, dude. Oh, this is, oh man. Crunch on the corn. You can taste the tomatoes, but it's not like overwhelming tomato. You taste the meat and the sweetness. Man, that's really good. Oh wow. That's Brunswick stew, man. And this will feed a crowd. This recipe here, this is basically what my aunt uses. Either uses a short rib or a chuck roast, and cook that down till it falls apart. Put that in there. Put the chicken in there shredded, because you want that shredded consistency. But she also likes using ground beef to get that ground beef consistency that's very meaty. Oh, I use ground venison, and man, this is highly addictive right here. Oh my goodness. Onions, you don't even taste the onions, but you can see the onions in there. Man, a chicken, that beef, there's some chunks of the beef, but they just like fall apart in your mouth. Oh, and they got a nice little crust on them from the smoke. Oh wow, they just like that big chunk of beef I had, it just right in my mouth. Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. Well, Brent, this is for you. Cheers, Aunt Sandy. Thank you for the recipe. I hope y'all give this a try. Brunswick stew is a great meal for feeding a family. If you have leftover meat from a cook, set it aside, freeze it, throw it in a pot with some tomatoes and corn and onions, barbecue sauce. Man, you got to give this a try. Thanks for coming to my chow line. I look forward to cooking more. I will see y'all in Normandy, and I hope y'all enjoyed this cook. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please check out the other videos, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see y'all in the next video.